Well, I guess we're just gonna have a terrible show today.
I mean, that I feel like that's par for the course for Gigli anyhow, right?
So if I don't understand anything you say, it's because my audio and the video are cutting out, and I just see, you're just frozen
Is that
like
different than
this.
any other week, Dan, where you don't understand anything I'm saying?
Oh, shut up, Tony.
Hey, watching with Dan and Tony. Hey, watching with Dan and Tony. It's Hey Watching, yeah.
Welcome to Hate Watching with Dan and Tony. I'm Dan,
And I'm Tony.
and my connection is terrible this week, so I will probably not understand anything that Tony says. So I
Woo!
apologize at the outset, which is
Work
something
from
you're
home,
never
baby.
supposed to do. Never apologize to your audience, because that is a sign of weakness and a sign that you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Which is both are true in our case. We have tons of weaknesses and we don't know what we're doing. So we're on track. We're doing great.
So this week we're doing a film that Tony picked called Gigli, not Gigli.
Just like really.
Gigli, starring J-Lo and
Ben Affleck.
See, I always do the joke Affleck, so I don't really know how to say his name anymore because I've made that joke so many times to myself, for no reason.
Just to yourself. You don't do it out loud to other people. It's just a little Dan Goodsell gem right there.
Affleck, so I get, yes. So I get lost. So we're doing Gigli, which is one of the worst movies of all time and has gotten that, and for good reason.
So you agree? You think it's one of the worst movies ever made?
I actually do agree.
Wow, I just don't see that. I feel like not only is it not the worst movie ever made, but I don't even think it's the worst movie that Ben Affleck has made. I would argue there are worse Ben Affleck numbers out there, and this movie, I don't know. I think it gets a bad rap because the Bennifer aspect of it, but it's a bad movie for sure. But is it the worst movie of all time? I really don't think so.
Okay, see, when I say worst, we have the Troll 2s and we have the Reanimators. We have movies
those movies are great.
That are considered bad movies, but they're funny because they're bad movies. And I think this movie is really bad because it fails on so many levels. It fails as a story. It fails
I agree.
as the acting is terrible.
Is everyone's acting terrible?
Yes,
So
everyone's
you didn't
acting
like
is
J-Lo
terrible
in this movie.
Caveat, I will explain why I think she showed that she's a terrible actress, because I think she really showed that she was a terrible actress. The writing is terrible.
I will agree. It is some of the worst writing. These monologues that these people give are atrocious.
They're atrocious. This movie is trying to be a thing, and it fails at what it wants to be completely, entirely, in every sense of the word. It's offensive from the whole sexuality, from the white male gaze. I could change a lesbian into a guy. It fails because of its depiction of someone who is mentally challenged. Which I don't even think we want to get into the mental. I was like, almost want to sort of set that one aside because it's just not even worth talking about, because it's just it fails from the beginning to the end.
I don't understand why that's even in the movie. I don't what a weird choice on purpose. You should I was talking to my wife, and I wish it was just like a troubled teenager, and Ben had to connect to this angry teenager, and then great, I get that relationship, and that's fine.
But you see, you couldn't do that because the troubled teenager, you would actually have to exert human control over. What they want, it should have been a pet. Because that's the thing, is what it is, the kid, when you want him to be a problem, you make him a problem. And when you don't want him to be a problem, you just yell at him and say, go to the bedroom. Like when Christopher Walken shows up, they've just banished the kid to the bedroom and the kid is absolutely silent and doesn't do anything ever. And,
Yeah.
like what a point to add dramatic tension to, right? Isn't that the whole idea is you have the thing right there and that's where we'll get to all that. So we meet Ben Affleck's character who is the Gigli of the name. What is his first name? I don't remember his first name.
I don't. They say it once at the beginning of the movie, and I think that's the last time they ever say it.
I think they say it a bunch of times. I just
really
didn't write it down. Oh, no. I just wrote a lot of he yells, she doesn't do anything, Baywatch bit, J-Lo yoga sex.
I always just refer to people as their real names on my notes. Okay. I never remember characters.
So Ben is a mobster, and he's like tormenting a guy in a washing machine, and in the middle of the day. And this movie takes place in L.A., but everyone is like they're in the New Jersey mob.
Wait, this movie takes place in L.A.?
Yes.
Oh, you're right. They take the 10 freeway.
I mean, if you really look at the names of the streets, it's L.A. You just realized it was in L.A.? Where did you think it took place?
It's just now making sense. You're absolutely right. This does take place in L.A. Why does she have an accent then? That doesn't make any sense. Like, if he had one and he was just like an East Coast transplant, I would forgive it. But why does she also kind of have an accent?
Well, because she's J-Lo from the block.
Oh my God!
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna blow your mind even more if you hadn't thought about this one. Where did he grow up?
He grew up in that house in L.A. He grew up with his mom in his house. What? Oh, no! I take back what I said about this not being the worst movie ever made.
When you really start to granularly analyze this thing, it's just like, what is going on? And that's why this movie is such a problem, is because, I mean, yeah, we're going to do Tippy Toes at one point, and Tippy Toes is just, it's like this times 10, like it's so offensive, and There's so many beyond issues that are also dealing with people that, have genetic issues. Yeah. Okay. So he grew up in LA and he acts like he's a New Jersey or whatever, Boston or wherever it is, mobster type.
Oh my gosh.
And it makes no sense.
So funny. It doesn't make any sense. That's amazing. But I didn't even put that together. And what's weird is I'm like, all the 10 freeway, so much traffic. I said these things out loud, and yet still was like, oh yeah, we're clearly on the East Coast because these idiots are talking. Oh man, that's incredible.
Because that's the way the whole movie is. I mean, and there's no reason for it to be in LA.
There's no reason for it to be anywhere because nothing. Happens, but yeah.
It just as easily could have been on the East Coast, but they put it in LA for no understandable reason.
None at all. That's amazing.
Except the Baywatch thing. That's why it's in LA, is because of Baywatch.
But that's not even Baywatch.
Essentially it is, because Baywatch is shot exactly where they did that thing, and that's exactly how Baywatch looks when it was shooting.
Sure, but I don't know. But Ben even says in the movie, he's like, I think that's something else, pal. So, like, they could have done that anywhere. Just have a beach movie filming.
But you couldn't do that in New Jersey.
I guess.
That is why this movie takes place in L.A., is for the stupid, worthless conceit of the mentally challenged kid being obsessed with Baywatch. You could have rewritten anything else. And doing a quick little research on this movie is it was supposed to be darker, and then the movie studio came in and took it over. And then at some point he was supposed to fight to get the kid to the Baywatch against the bad guys.
I would like that movie.
And that's the whole thing, is the guy that did this movie was the guy that did Midnight Run.
Yes,
you remember Midnight
Run? And the first Beverly Hills Cop. Two phenomenal films, in my opinion.
Fish out of water. You know, like Midnight Run is really straightforward. You got to go from take this guy from this point to this point. They give a reason why that guy's not going to just run away. And then you put like 2 or 3 things in conflict with that. And that's the whole thing about this movie is a lot of these movies we watch and then I watch them Wednesday, Thursday, then we're shooting this on Saturday and I've forgotten so much that goes on because these plots like Hubie Halloween, it's just all this stuff piled on top. This movie's the exact opposite. Yeah. It's all this nothing that goes on. And so you actually can write it down very easily. The plot is very straightforward because nothing really happens. They just sort of today we went and got tacos and then we came back home and I tried to seduce her. Then today we went and did this. Then we came back and it's nighttime, so it's time to try to seduce the lesbian into being in love with me. And it just bounces between like these two sort of things, neither of which is interesting or good.
I agree with everything you just said. I don't know. There's nothing. So not to jump around too much, but at the end of this movie, nothing happens. And I was so mad because they spend so much time talking about how they do bad things in this movie. Like the mom's like, oh, I think you do bad things. And Ben Affleck's like, oh, I want to go to a clean place where there's no bad things. And I was like, nothing bad has even happened in this movie. You don't do anything bad. Nothing bad happens to you. At one point, that guy gets shot in the head. And then they're both terrified children. And I'm like, you've never seen a dead body before. I don't understand who these people are. But at the end of this movie, I wanted some shit to go down to prove to me that bad things happen in this town. But instead, it's just like this weird happy ending. And oh boy, I was mad.
One of the other things I read was that one of the other thoughts that they had was that J-Lo wasn't actually the assassin person that she told to Ben. That instead, her girlfriend was the badass assassin who was supposed to go there.
Sure.
And she like went in her place. And I think that's what this movie does is it had a bunch of ideas, but then it didn't settle on any of them. And so they throw these unresolved things in your face and you're just like, let's just keep going. So then we meet stupid. No, it's not your fault. We meet stupid Lewis, who's the guy he's working for. And basically the plot is he's going to go and kidnap the LA district attorney's mentally challenged brother and then hold him hostage to try to get these charges dropped from Al Pacino, the mobster. That's the plot of the movie.
That is the plot, but I just want to say one thing. He's a federal prosecutor. And I remember that because they repeatedly say the phrase federal fucking prosecutor as if that's like a funny turn of phrase. They say it 12 times easily. And I was shocked. You didn't get a laugh the first time, guys. Stop hitting it. Why does everyone refer to it as federal fucking... so dumb. And the script is terrible.
And I will also posit this. There is only one situation in this entire movie that actually acts like it's being funny. Like the rest of it's played as a straight drama when they cut off the thumb.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
That's like the one sort, and you feel that Midnight Run feel right in this one little section, and they we'll talk about it. They literally play the music, the do heisty music, which they never. The rest of the movie has none of this that I can remember.
The rest of the movie has weird melodrama, like love music in the background. Even when things non-romantic are happening, it's this weird melancholy. It's not right. It's not right.
So he snatches the kid, takes him in his car.
Hold on. So this talk with Lewis sets up Ben's character. He literally says to Gigli, he's like, hey, you're supposed to be, and I quote, some vicious mad dog. That's apparently Ben's reputation, is a vicious mad dog. Not only is he never vicious, never wild, he's like a subdued puppy. He's everyone's bitch in this movie. He bends over for everyone. I don't understand. Why do you have that line that you're a vicious mad dog if you never let him be anything other than a total frickin' loser? I was irate. Just make him a guy that like stumbles into this on accident. Like he crosses with the mob and they're like, hey, we're going to kill you unless you do this thing. Then I believe his character a little bit more. Like this fish out of water where this guy's trying to be tough even though he's a scared little puppy, because this character doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, because J-Lo's character constantly is pointing out what a little bitch he is.
All the time.
He never does anything to sort of make us not think that he is that little bitch. And by the end, we're just like, she's going to take him away in the car and like chain him up somewhere and just use him as a fuck toy or whatever.
I needed him to die at the end of this movie. Like 100%. The fact that he didn't get shot and killed, I was disappointed. I was like, this terrible character who gives nothing to anything in the world needs to be eradicated by the end of this film, and they don't do it.
And yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing. Like you say, they try to set him up as this thing, and they don't even explain how he was this mad dog. You know what I'm sort of saying? I mean, the very first scene where he's sort of manhandling that guy, he's a dick, but he doesn't even feel menacing.
No, he's not menacing at all. He just kind of tied the guy up and he's like, I'm going to turn the dryer on. I'm going to do it. Do you want me to do it? Because I'm going to do it. And that's it. Like, what?
And if he'd been like this wisecracking guy that's just like, oh my God, like the cut up guy that but they start out with the stupid Lewis thing. I didn't want to do all this Lewis stuff because it's so stupid. He's like, I got you half the money and you're going to get the rest of the money. And Lewis is like, no, you needed to kill him. And you're just like, and Ben's character like becomes sheepish. He's all like,
yeah,
he retreats into himself.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous because every time someone steps up to him, he cowers. That's like his first reaction is to shrink away because he's a vicious mad dog, as all vicious mad dogs do.
So he gets the kid, takes him in the car, and then the kid wants to go to Baywatch, and so he picks up a flashlight and calls Baywatch, and Baywatch is closed, and so it calms the kid down. Then he gets the kid in the apartment, and then the kid, I don't think he abuses the kid yet, but he there's some yelling, and that's another thing about this character is he doesn't understand anything in the world.
Not a single thing.
He does not.
He's not believable as a human being in any sense of the word, which is, that's a real shame because you've got Ben Affleck, who I adore. I know that that's kind of not a popular opinion, but I love Ben Affleck. There's some really great Ben Affleck movies out there, and the guy is a serviceable, if not good, actor. And there's this character is not a human being, but he's also not even a caricature. He's just like nothing. How do you do that?
Well, you write a terrible script. So so J-Lo shows up at his door and she is smoking hot, and she is just, every once in a while you understand why J-Lo was J-Lo at this point, and because she just sexually smolders and just talks her way into his apartment and then sits down on the couch, and you're just like, it's in like full porno land. I mean, you were just like,
but so much better than so. I don't want to get too personal into this, but porn isn't really that sexy. If we're being honest,
no, you're correct. You're correct.
I do not like J-Lo. I didn't think. I thought I was like anti J-Lo. I can't even remember what movies. Anaconda is one of the only movies I remember seeing her in, and it's not a good movie. It's a fun horror movie, terrible movie. She's awful in it, and she's a bad actor. That's what I always thought. But this movie, Dan, I was like, whoa, what's happening right now? And this whole weird lesbian thing it's weird to me because they say it over and over, but
Yeah.
she is constantly like sexually manipulating him. And
Yes.
so I think it's there to make it more believable that they then like hook up, I guess, or something. But it felt like a weird, this character didn't feel, again, super grounded, and I was a little confused by her motivations.
Well, that's one of the few things I liked in this movie is she comes in and she just lays it on,
Oh
and
yeah.
it is a manipulation. I wish that's what the movie was about. Was that
Yep.
she's this badass who comes and she just manipulates him, as opposed to like she almost like lets it become sparring as opposed to manipulation, which I would rather she just was manipulating him and just treating him like the little bitch that he was, and that was the whole
Yes.
thing. But they introduced this whole that she's a lesbian, and then he like wants to get with her, and then she's always sort of putting him off, and it feels like the writer is trying to stick it to somebody.
Oh sure. Yeah, so I agree with you. I wish that that's what the movie was about, and they end up putting them on the same level when they're kind of doing the bickering, which is insane to me because he never earns that. They just put him there. It's not like he's trading barbs with her and saying these like super clever things. She's constantly just beating him, like verbally beating him in these conversations, and yet somehow he's on her level and she falls for it, which we'll get to that scene in the car. I have a lot of things to say about that scene in the car when he is whining, but it's a ways away. I just, I want to hear why you don't like her in this movie because I thought she was borderline great in this movie.
Oh, I can explain exactly why I think it didn't work. And it's two scenes that occur later, and this movie is such a mess. I don't care about going out of order.
Yeah, it's
the scene where they're at the taco place when she gives her whole Muay Thai or whatever it was. I thought those kids were just, she was not intimidating at all. I thought it was like the weakest weak sauce, and I would just be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And and that's the whole thing is, if she'd done something like, whoosh, like the kid like tried to grab her and she like broke his hand in like 1 second. If she'd have actually, but I mean, I think that was once again an opening that they were leaving to make it so that she wasn't actually the person she was saying she was.
Which the more you talk about that, I actually like that kind of like character for her. I love her pretending to be this person. I really wish that that's where they went with this.
But and then at the very end when they're in the Al Pacino and he's like doing his whole Al Pacino thing, she is sitting on the couch looking scared.
It's bad.
Well, yeah, he's a little bitch and he's always acting like a little bitch. I understand that, but she does also, and I'm like, if she is a badass, then she should just be like, her arms should just be crossed. Like, what the fuck is your problem?
I do not blame her for that scene. I agree with you that it's wrong and terrible, but the fact that they're both doing it, and then she gives her speech also scared. Like she doesn't, when she's like, if that's what you want to do, then you should do that, but it's probably a bad idea. If she delivered that as a badass, even though she looked scared before, I would forgive it because she's like, oh shit, I got to step up and save us. But she delivers it scared. Neither of them are like, he would just kill them. If I was Pacino in that scene, I'd be like, oh, well, you guys are terrible at your jobs, so you got to die as well. I blame the direction for that because they're both that way. And so it had to have been a director call. It had to have been. I forgive her.
Then I mean, I won't go after her that much because she does play a bunch of the things I think interestingly well. And I also think that if you'd have written, if you just need to give her one move in the taco stand scene. Yeah. But they never give any of the characters even one thing. They give them these obscure speeches that are supposed to not go viral. But I think the writer, when he was sitting there writing these speeches, he was all like, this is going to resound. People are going to read this or hear this, and they're going to love these lines. You're the bull. Yeah. In a relationship, there's a bull and a cow. I'm the bull.
Which did stand the test of time. People still quote that.
So her name is Ricky. She works for Lewis. Also, Lewis has sent her also. Does J-Lo actually ever communicate with Lewis, or does Lewis just talk to Ben and then tell him to tell her things?
It has to be that one, because otherwise, because a lot of times he's like, hey, put the woman on the phone. I'm just going to say woman. He says offensive things, but he's like, put her on the phone, tell her this. Like, he wouldn't have to tell Ben to do those things if he was also in contact with J-Lo.
Which makes no, it's like you've hired two people to do the same thing, and then you just communicate with one of them, and then and I think that goes back to her not actually being the person. But whatever.
Oh, yeah. So all of that makes sense.
So I just wrote after this. So he yells at her and does his whole Sultan of Slick thing.
Oh my
God.
Then
he yells at Brian, and then he pushes Brian, and then he yells at her again. And then we have dinner.
So this basically stopped. Like, I had the slightest of hopes for Gigli, Ben's character of Gigli. But this scene, it was just like, oh, he's an irredeemable non-character. Why is this movie even remotely about this guy? I don't care. I don't want to see it. If he doesn't die, I'm going to be mad. And then he didn't die, and I was mad. Fuck him.
So now, to get the kid to fall asleep, he has to read him the Tabasco sauce label, which was just stupid. And then then J-Lo's going to sleep on the... So J-Lo's going to sleep on the floor, and we get all these loving shots of her butt crack. Talk to me about J-Lo's butt crack.
Am I going to get canceled? I feel like I'll get canceled. She's a very attractive person. I don't know why this is happening in the movie, but at the same time, I was like, okay, at least something cool is happening in this movie. And that's how I felt about her character. And that's bad. If that's the one thing that your movie has going for it, it's not a movie anymore. It's not a movie at all. But they were very purposely doing it, which bothered me. Only because she was in a position where you have to see it. It was like, no, turn a little bit, go to your 3 o'clock. Now, there you go. Now we can see right down your pants line. It's like, what? Why are we doing this? She doesn't need to do that. She's a very attractive person. Just being on the floor, it's like, yeah, all right, come. Hey, I got a bed. If you need it, go ahead and sleep in it. Also, he should have offered her the bed. That's
really?
Just my
should have been
take.
A gentleman and not a piece of garbage?
Because he's a little bitch in the movie, and he should have been a bitch in this scene, because it's not consistent. But he should have been like, you know what, have the whole bed, and then she should have been like, we could split it, because she's manipulating him.
Yep.
Ugh.
So there's this whole bathroom scene where he does kung fu in the bathroom, a little bit like the Hulk Hogan movie,
but not as funny as the Hulk Hogan movie.
Hulk at least had confidence that he was going to score with the girl.
Yes.
Ben is like, I'm going to get with the girl, I guess. Maybe I'm the bull. No, I'm the cow.
He's a vicious mad dog in this scene, Dan. And he's exuding confidence and sexual prowess, the likes the world has never seen. I don't get it. Why, if this character's supposed to be a badass, which he's not, but he's supposed to be, why is there a scene about him being a total nerd in the mirror? I don't it doesn't make any sense. This character would never do that unless he's an 8-year-old boy.
He is an 8-year-old boy. So they get into bed. He has horrible tattoos. And then she explained the one was absolutely fake. The cross looked real on there.
The cross looked real to me too. I don't
The
know.
other one was just like done in magic markers by like some intern, and it looked like, or they had it printed out and then they put it on and it sort of blurred, and
maybe Ben did it himself before shooting and showed up to set that day and was like, "Hey guys, check it out. This is cool, right?
Oh, it's roses."
This is totally Gigli, right, guys?"
So she does a whole "you're not my type," and then she's like, "You've got a penis."
Yeah.
And then he is like really butthurt, not surprisingly.
Is that not surprising? I mean, I don't really. I've never been in that situation, so I don't really know how that works. But it really bothered me how upset he gets. You know what I mean? Like,
because he has no confidence, because she's doing to him what has always happened his whole life. Right?
I mean, I guess, but it's just like, bro, like, that's just them's the breaks, like, move on. I don't understand. He's so mad at her about it. It feels, which is is dumb.
It's the he's the incel. He's the involuntary celibate.
Yeah.
Because like through this movie, they never even give him a girl, right?
Oh no, I don't think he's ever had sex before in his entire life. I'm pretty sure Gigli's a total virgin. I mean, the most ass he gets is his mother when he gives her the shot. That's all I'm saying.
Good one, Tony.
Yeah, so I got him. Take it, Gigli.
Hot bird, Ben. Your billions of dollars. You've been burned by Tony.
Yeah.
You will never survive. He's gonna watch this one, and this little tear's gonna roll.
Oh, I hate sad Ben Affleck. I hate it. Oh, it's the worst.
So the next morning, Brian, that's the name of the mentally challenged kid.
Yeah.
He makes phone calls, and he calls the weather in Australia because he likes the Australian woman's voice. It's like a setup for something that happens at the very end.
For this weird payoff at the end. It didn't make any sense.
So Christopher Walken shows up, and talk about the Christopher Walken situation.
What is he doing? I would like to. I didn't do this. I should have gone through his IMDb, because I'm curious on how many just one scene cameos he's done over the years. Is that like a thing that he just enjoys to do? Just like go to set one day and kind of ham it up and then leave? Because this is the most nonsensical scene I've ever seen in my entire life. What is he talking about? You know what I want to do right now? I want to go down to Marie Callender's. Pie! Like, what? What are you talking about? He says something like your tongue is going to go through your head to get it. I have no idea what he's saying or what he's talking about, but he delivers it, so seriously. Like, he's really like, this is important stuff. And then he just, at the end of it, he just screams at him. When he's like, "Do you want some?" And he's like, "I'm good." And he's like, "You sure?" I don't understand what's happening at all. It's the craziest scene I've ever seen in my life, I think.
Yeah, it's super weird. And
I
of course,
no idea what's happening.
He shows up there because he knows that Gigli works for the guys who probably stole this kid. And he doesn't even walk through the apartment. He just sort of says, "Oh, you're too dumb to have done." Not even like you're smart and wouldn't get involved in this. It's like you're too dumb to have been involved in this because you're dumb and useless.
Dan, this is something that I still am confused about. Is Gigli an informant?
No.
Are you sure? Because Christopher Walken shows up like he owns the joint. And he's talking to Ben as if they're friends, acquaintances, and is like, "Hey, you tell me stuff and everything's like." It felt to me like Christopher Walken has done this before, and Gigli has given him information. I don't know. It was super weird to me.
Once again, this is like, it's like that nobody made a decision on what this movie was, and so. Is he trying to get out of the mob? Is he
Right.
we really never figure out what his connection to the mob is. Like, he
No.
doesn't even work for Lewis. Is he an independent contractor
He's an
that they got to
independent
call in?
contractor. They both are, which is very weird because neither of them seem to have any skills.
So then I wrote Baywatch bit. Oh, then we have then we do the whole stupid lunch scene where they go to get tacos, and these kids are playing loud music, and so Ben's character screams at them 3 times, and then J Lo's like, "Stop drawing attention to us! Stop drawing attention to us!" Then she goes over there and like delivers this whole thing about how she's gonna poke his eyes out.
Which, if you're just listening to the words, is kind of scary. If that, like, your eye turns to gelatin, is that true, Dan? And then you can like pull out the ocular nerve. Like, if I gotta fact check this scene because that sounds very scary. But she doesn't deliver it like it's scary. She delivers it like she's trying to remember the line a little bit. That's how like it felt to me.
That's how it felt.
But hey, you win some, you lose some. She's the best part of this movie, so I'm gonna forgive her.
And so then as they're walking away, Ben picks up this weird laptop that one of them has, and he like breaks it in half to show he's just the wussiest person ever.
Yeah, just a little bitch.
Okay, so then we have a car ride, and she talks about Sun Tzu and the art of war.
And he's never heard of Sun Tzu. Oh, Jesus. What a waste of a human being.
Men are dicks because they don't cry. Why are you sad? And then the mom calls, and so then we go to the mom's house, and he has to inject the mom with, was it insulin or something? What was it? I don't really remember.
I don't know if they even really say because if it's insulin, I'm pretty sure you can do that in your stomach as well. Because that's where, I mean, my friend from high school used to do it in his stomach, and I used to give him shots all the time. So I don't know what it is. If I'm being honest, I don't know what it is.
So then we have this whole interaction where the mom is like, J-Lo works her way in there because Brian's got to pee, plot contrivance stupidness. And the mom is like, "Oh, you've got a girlfriend finally. Oh, girlfriend." And it's like, does a whole thing where she acts like she was a lesbian at one point. And
so they missed, I feel like they really missed a fun scene here because I liked the mom character. I thought she was like, oh, what a fun, fresh breath of air in this movie. Someone with energy and like at least a caricature of a person. You know what I mean? Like, at least she's doing something, and she's fun. And then her and J-Lo have this been. She's like, "Oh, I'm into girls," and she kind of looks. And I was like, "Oh, they're gonna have like a heavy flirtation, which would be fun." And they kind of don't do that, and they hint at it a little bit, but they kind of dance around it. And I was like, "All right, you missed it again. You missed like a good joke that could have been in there. You missed it. You squandered it. You don't care about my life. I hate you."
I think this movie also suffers from this thing where it wants to be different. It doesn't want to do the things that are, it sets up the things that it's supposed to do.
And it doesn't.
Which are and then it just chooses not to do them in lieu of like being weird and awkward and worthless.
Yeah.
So then I write, now we're back at the apartment again because this movie just takes place at this apartment. I forgot one of my favorite things was she's like, why don't we go get a hotel where police officers don't just knock on the door and walk right in? And he's like, no, it's got to be in my apartment.
Well, he says this is my place. No one's gonna push me out of my apartment or whatever. And I was like, bro, you're an idiot.
Anybody can walk in there. If I were to knock on that door, I'd be walking around there being like, what's up with the kid with the mental issues?
Here's the problem, Dan. Everyone just walks into his apartment because he doesn't stop anyone. He's just a pushover. 3 people enter his apartment unwelcomed, and he does nothing about it. It's ridiculous.
Okay. So then we have the J-Lo yoga sex scene where she rides around on the floor doing yoga.
Is that already? Really?
Yep, that's where we're at.
Okay.
And she does the mouth is the same as your bonus vagina, and that's why the mouth, and that's why women are the greatest. And she says erotic monkey wrenches, which I kind of liked.
Dan, I got to be honest with you. This is one of the most attractive scenes I've ever seen in my life. It worked for me. I was like, whoa. And the bonus part is my wife, who had already checked out of this movie and was playing Animal Crossing on her Switch at this point, like looks up from her Switch and was like, this is the hottest thing I've ever heard. And I was like, I know! What's happening right now?
But it's so killed because you know that it's just like a tease. You know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah. But it was delivered very well. That's all I'm going to say.
I wrote telephone bit thumb. Oh, Lewis calls and says you got to cut off the kid's thumb.
Whatever. And he was... here's my problem. Not as if I have one problem with this movie. My problem with this scene is that he is so dumb. Ben Affleck's character is so dumb. He doesn't understand anything. And the guy's like, you got to send a thumb. He's like, how am I supposed to send a thumb? I don't know. How does that work? The guy has to literally explain to him that you cut off someone's thumb and send it to someone. What?
He literally has to explain the concept of the postal system to Ben's stupid character. Do I get a homing pigeon? Do I train a newt and then tie the thumb to the newt and convince the newt to crawl to the city hall? It's like, how stupid are you?
He's the dumbest person alive.
So then we're back in bed again, and then J-Lo's psychoanalyzing him, and we find out that he doesn't have any friends. So he has no books in the house. He has no friends. Oh, yeah. He's got his mom, who he has to go and inject, and that's like his whole life.
Yep. Is that supposed to make him sympathetic? Because honestly, it just made me like scared of him a little bit. I really thought that he at some point was gonna just like start killing people. Yeah, like where is this vicious mad dog? So you set up that he's a vicious mad dog.
Tony's always waiting for Mad Dog to show up.
Like, I don't understand why that line is in there if he's the softest human of all time. And then he's like this weird loner loser, and he's like, how do I just stick to my work? And I was like, oh, he's gonna lose it. He's gonna kill everybody at the end of this movie, but nothing happens at all.
So J-Lo's in the shower. I wrote rap because the Brian kid's obsessed with rap. Maybe he does something stupid with rap in the kitchen.
Well, he sings. Oh boy, what was he singing? I don't know. Something
like this stuff. I so didn't want to talk about, so I didn't even like write down what the song was or anything.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Now the girlfriend shows up. J-Lo's girlfriend shows up,
who again knocks on the door. Ben Affleck opens it, and then she just walks into the apartment, and he's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Hey, you're in my apartment. Like, what are you talking about? Everyone just walks on in, and he does nothing. He's concealing, like, state secrets right now, and he just is willy-nilly open. He might as well just not have a door. He should just have, like, a welcome sign, and then take the door off the hinges.
Beaded curtain.
Hello. So dumb.
And what about her monologue, which I didn't write anything about because it was so terrible.
Yeah, I don't want to be mean to this person who I've never seen before or after, as far as I can tell. But woof. I mean, in her defense, she's given some really terrible lines, just like everybody else. But she brings it to this new low where I was like, oh no, you're making Ben Affleck almost look like a human being in this scene. Tough to watch.
We got to always remember the director is also the guy that did Scent of a Woman. So, Oh, you didn't realize that?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I should have done a full IMDb.
So she climaxes her appearance by going in the kitchen, getting a knife, and slitting both of her wrists.
Which is, what a weird turn for this not dark movie at all. This is like a weird, fluffy, quote-unquote gangster movie. And then she just full-on opens her wrists, and then you see it. And she just did. I was like, holy shit, what is happening right now? It was shocking. I did not see that coming, if I'm being honest.
I had read about it, so I was a little cued in.
Oh, really?
When it came.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was just like, well, here we go.
My jaw was on the floor, Dan. It took me by surprise. It really did.
So then somehow they get her to the ER and no questions are asked. Just like, do.
Everything's pretty much fine. And then you even see J-Lo in the hospital with her. She's in like a wheelchair. And they're like laughing and having a good time. And I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, they were good together. They had an emotional moment. Maybe the relationship's back on. Did you get, there was like, at the beginning, I shouldn't go down this rabbit hole. Did you get the feeling that it wasn't just J-Lo and this woman, it was actually 3 women that were in the relationship?
Oh, I don't know.
That might just be me not hearing things. Okay, so then we have the hospital hijinks scene where like J-Lo distracts the orderly, by like, oh, where's the 3rd floor? Is this the 4th floor? I'm so confused. And then they sneak into the morgue and cut the thumb off of a corpse.
Do they? Because
with a plastic knife.
With a plastic knife. That is absolutely right. My dude, not only, I mean, come on, guys. You think a plastic knife's going to get through that bone? Really? Come on.
Well, I think he sort of snaps it off at a certain point, but whatever.
Ben Affleck, the softest pile of pudding in the world, pulls off a guy's thumb. I don't think so.
Okay, so now we go to Mailboxes, etc., where there's like this really cute girl, and then they're mailing the thumb, and then J-Lo is like eye flirting with this girl like so hard. And it's really sexy, of course.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But at the end of the scene, I think you're right, Dan. At the end of the scene, Ben Affleck's like, a friend of yours? And she says something like a close personal friend, as if she knew her before.
I don't know.
Oh, this movie doesn't make any sense.
Okay, now we're back in the apartment. It's back night. The 2 of them are going to bed because they're in a relationship. And then we have the whole fingernails thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You didn't like this scene, huh?
I didn't understand anything about it. Like, she's like, if you're really looking at your fingernails, you have to put them up to your face, but he held them at a distance, and then he's like, I'm nearsighted or I have vision problems.
Okay.
And I don't know if he has vision problems or if he's just a big wuss.
No,
I don't
he's faking
understand any of this.
Because so what it is supposedly, I have never heard this study. I don't know if this is real, but more masculine people look at their nails like this, apparently, and then more feminine people look at their nails like this. Which I've never heard that before in my life. I don't think that that's an actual study that was done. But she was basically calling him feminine, and then he, is this tough macho guy who can't be called feminine. So he's like, I'm nearsighted, or farsighted, and that's why I do it. And I mean, the scene doesn't make any sense. Don't get me wrong, it's dumb, but yeah, that's what it is.
I thought you were going to defend the scene.
Oh, no. It seemed like you didn't understand it. And I was like, oh, no. I understand it. It's just bad.
I did not get the bit at all. And I was just like, what are we, huh? What, huh?
I will tell you that my wife and I both then looked at her nails, and I looked at them like this, and she looked at them like this. And I was like, no, that makes sense. That checks out. I think that this theory is actually pretty correct.
You see, and I'm kind of with him because I have vision issues. And so, of course, I'm going to look at him like this. And I'm not manly at all. I'm never going to look at it like this because I can't see.
You can't see him.
With glasses, I can barely see anything.
And so you're the Ben Affleck character in this movie. You and Gigli are like this. You guys are the same person. Congratulations.
And more importantly, I bite my nails, so they're never a freaking issue. So I'd be like, no, my nails are fine. I wouldn't even look at my nails. I'd be like, I understand exactly. And more importantly, I wouldn't look at my nails to analyze them. I would feel my nails to analyze
yes,
them.
I mean, that's 100%. You touch them and you're like, no, they're fine. I'm doing all right.
I mean, do you think there's people with really long, weird nails that they don't realize they have really long, weird nails?
I mean, no, I don't know how that would happen, because you would end up hurting yourself. Just like, oh, I got to scratch my forehead and blood.
So then she kisses him, and then it's turkey time, and then wait.
Did we miss the yes and the sure bit?
Oh, I think that was, yes, we did, I think. No, that comes later, I think, isn't it? I don't care.
It comes before they hook up.
Okay, so we probably did. Why, is that where they fall in love?
I mean, that's where she, and not to be too crass, because this is what she says in the movie. She was like, she asked him a question and he says, sure. And she's like, yes or sure? And he's like, it's the same thing. And she's like, no. If I, and her conceit is, if I said I would S your C, if you follow my drift, S your C for 12 hours, you would probably say yes and not sure. Which is very weird, because let's be honest, 12 hours is too long, Dan. Are there breaks?
Okay, we're not going to do those.
Do I get a food break? Do I get a water break? Can I spread this 12 hours out over to like 25 different segments? I got a lot of questions about this deal she proposes.
We're not going to make all the jokes about what would happen after 12 hours. The amount of blood. No, okay, we're not doing it. No jokes about that. It's just not funny. 12 hours? Are you kidding me? Good God.
Are you kidding me right now?
What the hell? What are you talking about? So wait, is that the point at which she fell in love with him, or decided to have sex with him?
I don't think that ever happened, Dan. I mean, I would argue that they never had a real emotional connection, even though they're dating in real life. They never once felt like they were connecting. But I believe yes, in the movie, in the script, I think yes, this is the moment.
So we get to this point where, so she's like, it's turkey time, where she wants him to perform oral sex upon her.
Yeah, because he talked a big game earlier. He said that, hey, I'm really good at it.
Does that happen?
No, not only does that not happen, Dan, but then she's just like, oh, never mind. Let's just have sex. We don't even need foreplay at all, even though that's what we've been talking about for like an hour. And then they have the most boring sex since 50 Shades of Grey.
And what did I write? That's it?
Like, that's essentially 100%.
You're making a whole movie about this interplay between a man who's trying to change a lesbian into a heterosexual, or at least bisexual, and he is playing this so hard, and then he finally gets to the sex, and literally her like doing yoga is sexier than the two of them coupling up together.
Well, hold on. That's a given, because her doing yoga is a 12 out of 10. But okay. He just lays there. He's a corpse. He's just, and then she's just barely moving. It's the least fun sex I've ever seen in my life. I don't understand. And then at the end of it, they like kind of hug, and he's scary. He's got dead eyes when he hugs. He's like, and I was like, oh my God, I think he's going to kill her. I don't know what's happening right now.
Well, you know what? I'm going to make a pitch. Maybe he is gay, and that just, he like, I don't know.
That was his moment of like, oh, well, I didn't enjoy that at all. It was just so disappointing. The one thing that this movie could have done right is like a fun sex scene. It's been a long time since we've seen a fun sex scene on this show, Dan.
Have we ever?
I don't know. Yeah. Hulk Hogan. Anyhow,
Did Hulk Hogan have a sex? Was there a sex scene?
I don't think there was. I'm just thinking about his butt right now because that one shot is more entertaining than the entirety of Gigli.
Oh, that bathroom was more entertaining.
Oh
than...
my god, VD room. Anyhow.
So then they go see Lewis, and we find out that the big gangster is Al Pacino. Al Pacino shoots Lewis in the head, and then they're all scared because, like you're going to get a prosecutor to drop all these charges by like kidnapping his brother. All you're going to do is piss him off even more.
And then get yourself arrested and sent to jail for life. It's a terrible plan. If I was Pacino, I would also be pissed that these idiots came up with that plan in my name. Like, I'd be like, what are you doing? You're all dead. But yeah, we talked about it before. They're just so scared in this scene. It's like they've never seen somebody in a powerful position like lose control a little bit. There's no bad people in their world. As far as I can tell, everyone is like this good, wholesome person who maybe does, maybe they accidentally robbed a convenience store, ooh, bad things. But this guy has a gun, he shoots a guy. Yeah, it's the mob. They shoot guys all the time.
Did you ever see the movie The Grifters?
I did not.
You should see that movie. It's really good. Angelica Houston plays like this sort of, she's a person who bets on horse races for the mob. So to adjust the race, the odds.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And she's stealing money. Okay. Ooh, so she's shaving money. And then the big mob guy finds out, and he flies out it takes place in Southern California. He flies out there, and she goes to his mansion. His name is Bobo. And she plays the hardest hard ass in this movie. I mean, she's just like, Angelica Houston as a hard ass is like a thing of wonder. And she goes there and she knows that he's pissed, and she is terrified. And you could just see it on her face. And then he does terrible things to her.
Sure.
And you're like, and he calmly explains the terrible things that he's going to do to her.
Yeah, that's
to terrify her even more and to put her in her place.
Yeah.
And you know what she didn't do? She didn't mouth off. She took her punishment because she's a badass and she knows it's either death or the punishment.
Yeah.
Period. There's no talking your way out of it. It's like, you've done wrong. You've been caught doing wrong.
Yeah,
you're taking your punishment.
Yeah.
And this movie does none of that. And so J-Lo stands up, talks back to him, and is like, we're going to go take care of the kid, and you got to let us go because you'll be in more trouble if we don't do this. And then does he even say anything of acquiescence, or does he just sort of look confused?
He just kind of looks at them, and then we go to the next scene. And I was like, okay, well, I guess everything's fine. Good job. I don't know.
So then we go back. They're going to take Brian. He's stupid. Ben is teaching Brian how to hit on girls.
Terribly, by the way. That would never work. You can't start, hey, nice weather we're having. Nope, that's not going to work, guy. Poor Brian's getting terrible advice.
So they're going to like drop him off back at the hospital, I guess. And then they're driving, and then they see the Baywatch. Yes. And Ben's like, no, we can't go there. 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 And then he goes there.
Like 3 minutes. First of all, I don't know if anyone knows how highways work, but there's no way that they see that they are driving by that at maybe 2 miles per hour. Because they see it for so long. There is a full conversation while they're driving by this place. And then there's still time to turn into wherever the parking lot is.
They actually do turn in. They don't make a U-turn, do they?
Yeah, no, they just turn it. I was like, what is happening? It doesn't make any sense.
So then they park, they get out, and then...
Hold on. I want to say one thing. Sure. Is that when Brian sees the Baywatch, he stands up in a convertible. And I just want everyone at home to know that don't do that, and you should be wearing a seatbelt, okay? Safety first, guys. That was very dangerous, and I was very upset by it.
Wear your masks.
Wear your masks and your seatbelts, please.
Wear your seatbelt when you're in the car.
I'm sorry. Continue, Dan.
So then they get out, and then there's more weird talk about nothing. And then Brian's like, can I go to the Baywatch? And they're standing there, and all these extras are walking down there, and Ben's like, no, no,
Yeah, why?
no.
Why are you saying
And
no?
and Ben called the DA and said, this is where the kid is.
Yeah,
We're at the
essentially.
Baywatch. Come pick him up. And he just keeps telling him no for no. That was actually one of the most infuriating things of the whole movie. He tells the kid like no 5 times for no reason.
For no reason. Also, why did you even pull over then? If you're pulling over, it's to let him go to the Baywatch. 100%. You idiots. So dumb.
So then he gives his car to J-Lo. She drives away. And then Brian goes down there and dances with an Australian girl. And then J-Lo comes back and they drive away.
I was so mad she came. First of all, it was a terrible scene where he's like, I want you to have my car. Like, what? Why, guy? Why? Just drive away together. Drop her off at a train station or something. Or do the opposite. Drop yourself off at a train station, then give her the car. What are you going to do? You're at the beach. What, are you going to walk 10 miles back to the city? What's going on here? It's so dumb.
More importantly, the DA is going to come there with a bunch of cop cars. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to roust everybody in existence.
This is why I thought I was excited. I was like, oh, he's going to get killed.
Kill himself?
I thought he was going to allow himself to be killed. That's what I thought. That's why he was giving her the car. He was like, you know what? I'm not going to make it out of this situation. You get away. And nothing happened. I don't understand.
Did you really think at this point in the movie that the cops were going to show up and there was going to be like a gun battle?
I hope so. I was like, maybe they got something left for me. Come on, guys, do something. They don't do anything in the whole movie. Nothing happens.
Let me ask you this question, Tony.
Okay.
Does either Ben or J-Lo have a gun?
Definitely not, I would say, for sure. Nobody carries a weapon at all. He had to use a plastic knife. You don't even have like a pocket knife as a gangster? What's going on?
But it was the funny comedic part of the movie, so the plastic knife was the joke.
It wasn't funny for me.
So she comes back and she says, oh, there's been this terrible running bit that never lands, that he doesn't know her real name, and we find out, because her name in the movie is Ricky, that her real name is Rochelle.
Which, I mean, I don't know for sure, but isn't that just... Couldn't you just call her Ricky for short? So, like, it's not really not her name. It's more just like, like people call me Tony. But I'm like, no, that's not my name. Don't worry. It's Anthony. Boom. Drop to the mic. What?
And then I wrote this down. She wants to put mascara on him. Did she do a bit about mascara as they were driving away?
She was doing this whole making him less masculine thing. Like this whole femininity thing is like, I guess, a bit that they do. But yeah, she talks about putting mascara on and he's like, I'm not sure how to take that. And she's like, it's a compliment. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening in this dialogue right now. Like, okay, maybe he probably, let's be honest, Ben Affleck probably has mascara on right now. You know, I don't know. I would assume he does. His lashes look pretty full.
So my final thoughts are, that's why it's the worst movie, is because it didn't make any decisions about what it like literally made no decisions about what it was. And that if you aren't making just even your most basic decisions of who your characters are, what your plot is, what resolution there is, what things actually happen, because flirting with the mailboxes, etc. girl, that's not a thing happening, because it doesn't reflect on things. Al Pacino's character's also not a thing happening, because he kills, it's like there's a murdered body, but we know there's no consequences coming from that murdered body laying on the couch. Christopher Walken's character coming into his apartment has no consequences or means nothing. Nothing in this movie meant anything. Their sex meant nothing.
Christopher Walken doesn't even come back. He's just in that one... Oh, sorry. He's just in that one scene. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep. He's not a reoccurring character.
The cops just kind of let it go at some point? I don't know. It's so weird. Okay, so I want to, this is going to be I'll try to make it quick, but it's a slight diatribe. I want to talk about the scene in the car where Ben Affleck basically cries like a little bitch because a pretty girl doesn't like him, which is infuriating and annoying. But also, what's worse is that she sympathizes with it. This is like the turning point for them. Is he's like, you want to know why I'm upset? It's because I got this beautiful girl sharing a bed with me, and she's a lesbian. Where? I'm a little bitch, and she like sympathizes with him and is like, okay, well, you know what? If you really want it that bad, I'll have sex with you. Is essentially what happens in this movie, and that is so frustrating on so many levels. But having said all that, I went back after this movie last night at like 1 a.m. and I watched Chasing Amy. Do you remember that movie?
I saw that, I believe, in the theaters, and I walked out incredibly angry.
Okay, so it's a movie that has really polarized audiences, right? Chasing Amy is. Some people love it, some people hate it. Whether you like it or not, it's a similar premise to this where he turns a lesbian straight, but at least they do it slightly more believable. They have it's weird how similar these two stories are. They're in the car in Chasing Amy. Ben and I can't remember the lady's name. They're in the car, and Ben has another speech where he's like, "Oh, a lesbian doesn't like me." Wah. Except for in that one, he gives the line where he's like, "I know it's not something that'll ever cross your mind, but I just needed to tell you how I feel." As opposed to being like, "Please sympathize with how hurt I am and have pity sex with me." He's like, "I just needed you to know how I feel because it's killing me being friends with you." And then she basically goes, "Fuck you, no," in that movie. And then obviously it turns and she does it anyhow, and it's problematic.
Why does she turn in that movie? Is there an explanation, or she just just want it to happen, so it just happens for no reason?
It's kind of like they bring in a backstory where she has been with guys in the past. So I think it's kind of like sexual fluidity, but they didn't really have a term for it back in 97, I think. Like that was kind of it was kind of like new territory, but no, essentially there's not like a real reason.
But does he do something as a character to make her want to be with him in that movie?
They skate over it. They do a musical montage of them getting really close and like doing fun things. That's one of the big complaints about this movie is like instead of focusing on that relationship, the movie's actually not about that at all. It's only about Ben's character kind of going through his day-to-day, as opposed to it's actually a movie about this relationship, which I think would have been interesting. But this is why it's a diatribe, and I apologize. But they do like a musical montage where they're getting closer and doing fun things, and you can tell that they do really like each other and they care for each other. And she clearly loves him, but as a friend, she says, but then, obviously they try it. They try the thing out. And the other thing I will say that I liked in Chasing Amy as opposed to this is when they finally do have sex, you don't see it on screen, but you cut to it the next day and their apartment is a mess. The couch is tipped over and they're on the top of the couch. It's like they went for it. All this sexual tension. They had animal crazy sex, unlike this movie where they did missionary with a dead person.
Now, when you first saw Chasing Amy, did you have enormous problems with the idea of trying to turn a lesbian into not a lesbian?
Oof. This is going back to like 13-year-old Tony's psyche. White, suburban raised Tony. I had never met someone that I knew was gay.
Sure.
My knowledge of it was very limited, and I saw this movie and I was like, whoa, I didn't hate it when I first saw it. I thought it was weird. I was like, well, can you do that? Can you just turn her? And I was like, I don't think that's how that works. But the other part of me was just interested in this whole world that I'd never really seen, where it was like, the sexuality was more fluid. That's not what I said back then, but I was like, she was with guys, she was with girls. And then he gets hung up on the fact that she's been with other guys and gets mad. And I was like, this world is like so much more than I knew. So that was kind of how I saw it the first time. Revisiting it as an adult, I'm a little more critical of it.
Yeah, well, I guess we can say that as a sort of positive. Is it sort of introduced a lot of that thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it handled it correctly is
Yeah,
another whole sort of question.
I agree.
Um, One last thing I wanted to say about this is we've talked about it. I always forget how to say it. The Bechdel test,
Yeah,
where it's the idea of having a woman who has a female friend. This one sort of flips that on its head, and Ben's character has no friends and has nothing.
yeah, he's got nothing.
And
He's
so
zero.
he sort of you invalidate your character the exact opposite way by making him not have friends and not have hobbies and not have a personality.
Yeah,
And,
he's not a human being.
and you get a character that is literally not a human being.
It's very yeah. I don't know. Very disappointing. J Lo is great. Everything else in this movie is awful.
So now we're going to do our picks of things we like this week. I, of course, forgot that we do this part of the show, so I forgot to make a pick. So instead of picking a film or whatever, I am picking a book.
Oh, great.
This is the book.
Oh, sure.
Do you know this book?
Oh, yeah. Into the Woods? Absolutely.
Oh, I don't know. Elko told me about it. John York. It just really talks. You really know this book or not?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Yeah.
Have you read it?
I have it downstairs. Yeah. Well, let me rephrase. I think my wife has it downstairs.
Oh, have you read it?
Not all the way through. No.
Yeah. I'm going to just read a quick part. This is a quote from Joss Whedon. Everybody in your scene, including the thug flanking your bad guy, has a reason. They have to have their own voice, their own identity, their own history. If anyone speaks in such a way that they're just setting up the next person's lines, then you don't get dialogue, you get sound bites.
Yep.
If you don't know who everybody is, why they're there, why they're feeling what they're feeling, and why they're doing what they're doing, then you're in trouble. And this movie fails on every single one of those things.
It, in fact, almost purposely does all those things, like the opposite of all of them, it feels.
But this book is really good. And if you want to sort of understand a lot of things about film and how things work, I've been reading this part about why series fail and why the second parts of movie, when you do part 2 of a movie, how it fails, and how we want the characters to be the characters, but you also want to try to grow them. And it's a very complex mix of trying. It's very hard to do those things. And I'm always reminded of Lethal Weapon 2, which I loved Lethal Weapon 1. And then I went into Lethal Weapon 2 and it was just like, oh, it's like a kind of a cartoony version of Lethal Weapon 1.
You're absolutely right about that, but still great.
Yeah. Compared to the first one where it really felt grounded and understood what it was doing, 2 just had to hit those same exact beats. And by 3, Joe Pesci's character is like literally a cartoon character. It's just like...
Yes. So the Lethal Weapon series is one of my favorite film series of all time. Are you frozen again?
No, I don't think so. I'm...
Oh, okay, good. Let me backtrack because I'm going to have to cut that. The Lethal Weapon series is one of my favorite film franchises of all time. But the way I look at it is Lethal Weapon 1 is a real movie. Like it's like an actual movie. And then 2 through 4 are just fun, silly buddy cop movies. And they're very different, but both are really good at what they do, in my opinion. Like the silly buddy cop film,
you view them through a very different lens.
Yes, 100%. And obviously, the original Lethal Weapon is phenomenal. I don't think you can see it, but the poster is on my wall right there. One of my favorite movies. So good. And then 2 through 4 are just a fun romp, which I have a good time with. They're like National Security, which is a terrible example, but I can't think of any other buddy cop movies that I enjoy at this moment. But it's just a very different idea. Have you ever
The
seen
Martin
National
Lawrence,
Security?
the Martin Lawrence one, where like there's the gem hidden in the in the in the cop precinct. Is that what
it's
that what
not
it is?
good. It's not good. It's just the first one that came to mind, Dan.
I mean, and you see, that's the thing about it is Gigli should have been one of those movies.
Yes. Yep. And it
And
could have been if they did it different.
This was a writer director who was trying to transcend in some ways, and some people do not have the skills to transcend. Instead, they should just make those buddy movies, which are fun and people love and enjoy. And if it was if he'd been giving the cow and bull thing in a comedic way, it could have been very funny.
Yeah. Oh, in fact, it's funny when people parody that, because that's happened several times. Like a couple of them are really funny because they're doing it in a comedic way. And it's like, I mean, that line is so dumb that if you take it too seriously, it ruins the comedic element of the line itself, which is weird. But yeah.
So tell us about something you liked this week,
well,
Tony.
Dan, it's funny that you say that because I didn't forget, but everything I watched this week angered me. Real quickly, I want to give a shout out in the negative way to the new American Pie movie on Netflix, American Pie Girls Rules. It's awful. It's a weird, they tried to do American Pie, but from the female perspective, but it was written and directed and produced by all men. And it's like this weird, like super sexualized. It's worse than the original series where they sexualize these women. It was bizarre. It was very weird. So don't watch that movie. And so everything I saw this week, I hated. So I'm going to do a song because the band Ludo released their first single in 10 years.
I heard about this. I don't know what it is, but I heard about it.
It's called Scare Me, and it's like a Halloween thing. We record these early, so I'm still in Halloween mode. But it's this Halloween, like, fun 80s throwback pop song, and it's unbelievable. I've had it on repeat for like 2 days. So
Ludo, check it out.
Yeah.
So I was, I had a movie picked out. And then, you keep doing the searching and, so this is romance month. We're trying to, Gigli, so not romantic.
Yeah,
50 Shades, so not romantic. So then I was like, I had this one picked out, which is a comedy. And I was like, And then I was like looking, and I looked at this one, The Time Traveler's Wife.
Oh, God, The Time Traveler's Wife.
And I was like, this is going to be a romantic movie, but it's going to be really terrible. And then I read like a review and it said it's boring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do it. Gigli was boring garbage. And it's like boring is hard to have fun with. So I went with my original pick, The Hottie and the Naughty.
And the Naughty! Yeah!
2008.
Paris Hilton.
Paris Hilton. Clocks in at an hour and 31 minutes.
Oh,
the right way, and so if there's 10 minutes of credits at the end, then we're looking at an hour and 21 minutes of movie that we have to sit through. Have you seen this movie? We're going to start
picking movie. I have not seen it, but it's been on my queue for a while now. So I'm glad you picked it because this is very exciting for me.
Well, we got through this one. If there's a lot of edits, it's because my internet was crashing, his internet, all the internet's crashing.
Working from home, baby.
We get closer to the election and the Russians spending so much time hacking into America, there's not a lot of bandwidth left to make fun of bad movies. So, on behalf of Hate Watching with Dan and Tony, I'm Dan.
And I'm Tony.
And we'll catch you next time at the movies.
Woo!
That's Siskel and Ebert sign off. I gotta write a good sign off.
Just keep stealing from people who did it before us because they do good stuff.
Go home and shut up. That works.
Hey, watching! We're dead.